You're looking at British redcoats marching upon the streets of Boston, Massachusetts in December. And no, they're not on site to reclaim this American-occupied Shake Shack and TJ Maxx. They're among the participants of a grand recreation of the Boston Tea Party's 250-year-old act of caffeinated defiance. So let me spill some tea on spilling tea. Ah! It's not actually hot, okay? December 16, 2023 marked the 250th anniversary of the political and mercantile protest that turned Boston Harbor into a giant mug of black and green tea. Now, for those who weren't around back then, a loosely organized group known as the Sons of Liberty fought against taxation without representation. That is, taxes imposed on those in American colonies who were not represented in the British Parliament.
When history asked Boston in 1773 if we were willing to do what it takes to defend our liberties, we took tea leaves for ink and made the ocean our page.
That's the mayor of Boston, from modern times, not back then. And as noted by the Library of Congress, Britain's passage of the Tea Act gave British merchants like the East India Company an unfair advantage in selling tea in America. Not only did colonialists condemn this act and plan to boycott tea brought over from Britain, which they themselves got from somewhere else, on December 16, 1773, a bunch of men disguised as Indians boarded a bunch of British tea ships and dumped hundreds of crates worth of the stuff into the harbor. Our reenactment here from the 250th anniversary of this protest brings the whole event to life again, though you may notice it sans all those Indian disguises. As noted by GBH, yeah, this recreation 86'd the culturally appropriative costumes and stuck to the more traditional colonial garb that the Townsend's guy wears when he's cooking old recipes in his little cabin.
This is one of the really great reenactments and historical events in America.
That guy's with an education group known as Revolutionary Spaces, who spoke before this grand tea dump and some of the other events that they helped put on to commemorate the anniversary in Boston, like the wet reenactment itself and other related events and gatherings about town.
We're going to see folks like Samuel Adams and John Hancock talking to folks like Francis Roach about whether or not the tea can or will be unloaded on December 16, 1773, and then what to do about it.
This is a historical night. 250 years we're celebrating Boston. How exciting is that?
That's a local guy who turned out for the recreation.
We had a blast, family event, and we were planning on this for a long time because we knew how exciting it would be. The events were super well orchestrated and it was just a hoot.
As Massachusetts Lieutenant Governor here reminds us, the Boston Tea Party was a history-defining act that helped kick off the American Revolution.
They stood up to injustice and in the process proved that ordinary people could rise up and change the world. They simply had the courage and the fortitude to do it.
It's a reminder for all of us, not just here in the United States, but all over the world, that democracy is action, doing what's right, no matter the odds, for our friends, our family, our home, our future.
Now, in case you're disappointed that you didn't get a chance to take part in the Boston Tea Party's 250th anniversary, you could try spilling tea on yourself like an idiot. Why am I doing this? And if you're smarter than me, there are plenty of other channels and inlets and other waterways across our fair nation where you're free to sprinkle some loose leaves in honor of our nation's revolution. Besides, there's another very big anniversary just around the corner, the semiquincentennial. No, it's not a partial harvest of charcuterie board spreads, it's America's 250th birthday. The committee that's behind this thing, a nonpartisan group called America 250, plans to spend the next few years to get ready for this commemoration, which is a pretty large undertaking. And I'm not just talking about counting candles for a cake that would make our current president look very young. Our nation's bicentennial was a major celebration that spanned the year plus leading up to 1976. Johnny Cash was the Grand Marshal of the Bicentennial Parade in Washington. The Queen of England stopped by with her husband to tour what used to be their country. And long before anybody was able to pause television, Ed McMahon himself hosted a 12-hour TV special called The Great American Celebration. The whole affair was filled with history, nostalgia, and merch like buttons, billiard balls, and even a commemorative bicentennial thermometer. America250.org wants to hear stories of average Americans as part of the celebration, and they say no story that you submit is too small. I myself would love to know what you did with that thermometer. Now, if you'll excuse me, I have to go dry my pants.